Urgent, our forces launched a swarm of drones. Moscow, get ready. The most massive attack on the capital of the Russian Federation. That was just a warm-up. Hellish revenge from our side is ready. Putin won't be able to escape. Russia has struck China. Xi Jinping will not forgive the Kremlin for this. Total shock. Ukraine's new weapon. Fedorov has unleashed a real beast on the battlefield. The first footage. Trump is ill, but there is still no diagnosis. As many as 36 doctors have issued a worrying statement about the American politician's health. This is the end, and all of this happened just now. Hello, I'm Renata Aslanova, and we're starting. Right now, there's blood in Moscow. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine has announced new devastating strikes right at the heart of the Russian dictatorship.
The Moscow region has suffered the largest attack since the beginning of the war. But there will be even bigger ones to come. And against Moscow itself as well. Everything in its own time.
Tensions are escalating sharply, especially since the day before Ukrainian forces with their attack on the Russian capital stunned Muscovites.
The windows just shook. We just jumped up and immediately ran to get the kids. God, it's so scary. It's really frightening. I just kept hearing the sound for half the night. Sounds of thunder. I thought it was thunder. It was just midnight. White drones were flying over our neighborhood.
Russian air defense was powerless. Our forces obliterated key enemy targets. In the Moscow region, the Angstrom plant was hit. It provides chips to the defense industry and is under US sanctions. The Moscow oil refinery, the Solnechno-Gorskaya oil pumping station, and the Volodarskaya oil pumping station.
OSINT analysts from Drone Bomber Plus reported that Ukrainian drones overcame 3 out of 4 layers of Moscow's air defense.
To strike a target right under Putin's nose. The very best Ukrainian developments were brought into play. Bar's FP1 Firepoint and Bar's Gladiator.
There it is, the little bastard. What's that above our heads? Shh, it's... Yauzafag. That's the second one already, Faker. Probably heading for the hood.
The important thing is that all of this is a response to Russian attacks. They are the first to take actions that provoke a retaliatory strike.
In the swamps, there's panic. What for years was sold as a controlled special operation is increasingly looking like a reality that's coming home.
For a long time, the capital was perceived as the most protected city in the country, a symbol of the effectiveness of Russian air defense and the distance between war and peaceful life. However, the May attacks showed that even Moscow's multi-layered defense system does not guarantee complete safety, and strategically important sites can still come under attack.
This is a real sensation. Russia has even managed to get itself into a scandal with China. A Chinese vessel was attacked in the Black Sea. This was stated by the spokesperson for the Ukrainian Navy, Dmytro Pletenchuk.
It's interesting what motivated the Russians when they decided last night to use a Shahed drone to target a Chinese merchant ship in our sea.
It has been reported that there were no casualties. Nevertheless, this certainly won't save Moscow from an angry phone call from Xi Jinping. It seems the moment has come when the system is falling apart so much that it even starts hitting its own friends.
To carry out a deliberate strike on a Chinese ship with a Chinese crew right before a trip to China. And that is Moscow's style of diplomacy for you.
It should be noted that the Kremlin announced a visit to Beijing the day before, on May 19th through 20th, right after Trump's trip. Officially, this is being presented as deepening the partnership and coordinating on key international issues. But the media are already paying attention to the timing. The New York Times writes that such a sequence of visits is unlikely to be a coincidence. Experts suggest that Moscow is trying to make the most of the moment and strengthen its position in dealings with China amid global negotiation processes. However, it seems the false attack changed everything. Should we expect any public slaps to Putin from Xi Jinping? We are following the developments. Ukraine has pushed Russia's fear to the maximum. Mykhailo Fedorov announced the release of a new deadly beast. Engineers have developed their first guided aerial bomb.
The development took 17 months. The Ukrainian bomb has a unique design and was created with the realities of modern warfare in mind. The warhead weighs 250 kilograms.
The Ministry of Defense has already purchased the first experimental batch. Pilots are now practicing combat scenarios, adapting the use of the new weapon to real wartime conditions. So the enemy should get ready. Total shock. Trump will still have to be written off due to the state of his health. According to the publication, the information environment around the head of the United States has become increasingly tense lately. His public appearances are becoming sharper and more unpredictable, and his political statements often sound like a mix of escalation and improvisation. At the same time, there is active discussion about his physical condition, noticeable bruises on his hands, swelling of the ankles, and general instability in his movements. During his public appearances,
36 American medical professionals have raised serious questions regarding the U.S. president's fitness to fulfill his duties. This open letter will further escalate political debates around Trump's mental and physical health.
We are talking about abrupt changes in rhetoric, digressions from the topic during speeches, and episodes that observers describe as difficulties with maintaining focus. Experts also note visible signs of fatigue during public appearances and an uneven delivery in his speeches, when sharp statements can be followed by less structured explanations. What was recently discussed in whispers is now being spoken out loud. Doctors are debating the level of self-control and the stability of political behavior, which under the pressures of the election campaign has become a matter of particular attention. However, most interestingly, there is still no definitive diagnosis.
The authors of the article add that it is impossible to make an accurate diagnosis remotely, but that does not mean the person is completely healthy. In their opinion, the situation surrounding the US president requires a full clinical examination. Against
this backdrop, a simple but uncomfortable question is being raised ever more loudly in American discourse. Does the president still maintain a sufficient level of control to effectively govern the world's most powerful nation? How events will unfold next remains unknown. We are keeping our finger on the pulse. Meanwhile, Moscow is descending into utter madness. The Russian State Duma officially authorized the bunker dictator to invade any country, supposedly to protect Russian war criminals from arrest by the tribunal in The Hague. But this legalization of international terrorism has had the opposite effect. Instead of fear, the civilized world has only become more united, and Europe has begun to build up its steel muscles for a tough military response to any antics from its crazy neighbor. Details to follow.
The nations of Europe need to focus on developing their military industry to counter threats posed by Russia, emphasizes and insists the Chief of the General Staff of the British Armed Forces, General Sir Richard Knighton. Cooperation between the defense industrial complexes of the UK and Germany could become the driving force of European cooperation, especially since the two countries have the Trinity House Agreement in place, which was signed back in 2024. This agreement provides for the development of new long-range weaponry, the production of tanks and drones, as well as the strengthening of maritime infrastructure in the North Sea. Germany and the United Kingdom have the largest defense expenditures in Europe in absolute terms. A strong Bundeswehr strengthens collective deterrence just as a strong British army does. I definitely welcome this. The trend is obvious. The threat is growing. Russia is fighting against Ukraine, learning during this war and developing new technologies. And Putin has already proven his willingness to attack sovereign states. The closer you are to the Russian border, the more strongly this is felt. General Sir Richard Knighton, the Chief of the General Staff of the British Armed Forces, in an interview with Süddeutsche Zeitung. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced the launch of the Anti-ballistic coalition initiative. This will be one of the priorities of Ukrainian diplomacy in the near future, the head of state said.
I am grateful to all our partners in Europe who have begun the creation of the anti-ballistic coalition. This is truly the strongest solution to ensure that Europe has the necessary production of air defense systems and missiles for them specifically against ballistic threats. The potential to counter other challenges in Europe already exists and is being scaled up. And when it comes to anti-ballistic defense, all of us in Europe need much more cooperation and a different pace in implementing our agreements.
Collaborative efforts within the coalition will encompass both research and development, as well as direct funding and the process of production of anti-ballistic systems. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine explained. In this way, European countries will be able to overcome their dependence on American supplies in this type of weaponry.
It is my assumption that the primary key partners in this project are Germany, Italy, and France, who are already leading the way in air defense capabilities across Europe. Furthermore, Scandinavia will also play a crucial role in this initiative. Poland will certainly play a role as well, although I am not entirely sure if they currently possess the necessary technical capability. Today, they are considered to be one of the key participants in the strategy. We'll see. Maybe I'm
Paris is ready to cooperate in the field of missile defense. This is a decisive and important step, said Volodymyr Zelensky following his conversation with French President Emmanuel Macron. The heads of state discussed strengthening the ability to repel Russian attacks and the determination to reinforce air defense, wrote Volodymyr Zelensky on Telegram.
It is important to provide Ukraine with greater security, and we are trying to do everything in our power. The war has dragged on, so the capabilities to intercept ballistic missiles are quite limited. At the same time, we are trying to provide maximum support. Ukraine's idea of creating a missile defense coalition is very good. We are trying to understand how we can participate in it. We have less experience in the field of air defense, but we do have several good air defense systems. We want to work, if possible, not only on a bilateral basis, but also within the framework of pan-European cooperation. We should join forces to confront common threats.
Next week, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte will meet with representatives of leading European defense companies to discuss increasing investment and production volumes, reports the Financial Times, citing sources. The head of the alliance is laying the groundwork for important announcements at the annual NATO summit, which will take place in Ankara in July. Andrei Dimitrenko for Frida TV channel.
Robert Madyar, a name that causes panic in Russia, is now the new code of war. Madyar has rewritten the rules, making drones the main weapon of choice on the front where his fighters operate. No zones are safe. His drone operators are world-class. Where Madyar's birds fly,
the enemy forces truly have no chance of success. Out of the 10,000 individual enemy drones that were detected by our systems, exactly 7,800 of them were clearly observed and verified with direct video confirmation from our surveillance teams.
Robert Madyar is no longer just a name but a symbol of the new drone reality. His approach breaks conventional military patterns and sets a completely different pace for the war. He is not just a commander, he is the architect of Ukraine's drone revolution. The Magyar's birds are a round-the-clock nightmare for the occupiers. Brovdy's unit has long gone beyond ordinary aerial reconnaissance. They operate along the entire front line. They have thousands of combat directions behind them, the status of an elite UAV unit, and the reputation of those who see everything and strike precisely. The Russian military police won't let you lie about it. Madyar easily turns all of Putin's black gold into a fiery mess, while Russia's most sophisticated weaponry rots away in scrap metal dumps.
Since January 2024, the birds have become the first separate combat drone unit. In 2025, Brovdy himself receives the highest state award, the title of Hero of Ukraine. And in Russia, they're willing to pay a lot for his head. And here's why. The Russian Federation is losing $100 million every day as a result of strikes on its oil infrastructure.
The skilled operators of unmanned systems forces are persistently and systematically launching strikes against Russia's oil infrastructure, which leads to substantial and far-reaching losses in the processing, export, and logistics of petroleum products.
The attacks have disrupted the stability of oil transshipment at several major strategic ports, further complicated supply logistics routes, and forced the redirection of flows, overloading alternative directions.
Step by step, the enemy's oil logistics system is losing its ability to ensure uninterrupted exports. The results of this work are already being felt on the front lines today. Fewer resources for the enemy means more opportunities for our units.
Frontline style without filters. Madyar's drone operators are actively targeting enemy positions, while he himself is promoting the strengthening of the UAV direction and a unified recruitment system. The unit claims that thanks to a strict security system, losses are kept at up to 1%. Madyar is also known for his tough rhetoric and dark humor, which greatly irritates Russian Z channels.
Carbohydrate wedding into apps 2.0. Come back for an encore of Holy Fire. On the critically important oil depot, on the night before April 20th, a freedom-loving Ukrainian bird delivered it. The celebrations marking the successful 3-day suppression of the results of the previous courtesy visit have been cancelled by a powerful remake. The wedding at the TWEPS terminal has been extended indefinitely. After party in Groundhog Day style.
Importantly, Madyar is both eloquent and a driver of innovation. In a world first, his drone operators downed a Shahed with an interceptor launched from a surface platform.
The Special Operations Forces of the SBS Group is now heading out to sea with advanced unmanned surface platforms carrying specialized drone interceptors for Shaheds and other aerial targets. During the specific period between the 1st and 19th of April, SBS fighter ground crews successfully destroyed 4,465 enemy aerial targets, including 671 Shaheds and Garans. To intercept these Shaheds well in advance, a new strategic program was officially launched to deploy fighters from unmanned surface platforms, interceptor carriers operating from the vast and strategic open waters.
They're causing a stir with Madyar's birds even deep in the rear of Russia. Even 1,500 kilometers from Ukraine, SBS drones have pecked at a Russian oil refinery.
Not just to nibble at the military-industrial complex, but to burn away even the illusion of safety itself. In the rotten heads of the Sharikovs, regarding the depth of the enemy's rear, all the way back to its most primitive days. The governor of Bashkortostan can confirm that, 1,500 kilometers deep into the swamps. This is no longer about defense.
From business to the front, a journey rebooted. Before the war, Brovdi was a businessman, a figure of scandal, accusations, disputes, and a toxic reputation. He doesn't deny it himself, calling that period the mistakes of his past. But after 2022, there was a sharp turn. Irpin, evacuation, the front line. He made the purchases himself. The first drones, this is how the Madyar project was born, which grew into an effective combat system. And if someone doesn't like it, or if someone is far removed from real innovation, Madyar will easily put them in their place. Brovdi called out the director of Rheinmetall for his comments about housewives with 3D printers. He explained why the cloud-based UAV manufacturing system turned out to be more effective than traditional industrial gigantism.
You are right, Mr. Armin Papager. Even if it comes as a cry from the soul. The freedom-loving Ukrainian bird. This is not innovation at all. This is a revolution in warfare, a competition of firmware and frequencies. And yes, this is painful for industrialists because what's happening is the democratization of precision weaponry with kitchen smoke and sticks.
Zelensky supported Madyar and responded harshly to the CEO of Rheinmetall regarding Ukrainian drones. He noted that Ukrainians are unique in this context.
If every single housewife living in Ukraine really is capable of producing drones, then every housewife could just as easily become the chief executive officer of Rheinmetall. And I congratulate you on this level, this high level. Our Ukrainian defense industrial complex.
And the results of these technologies show every day on land, in the sky, and at sea. For example, Ukraine's unmanned systems forces recently struck a Russian Black Sea Fleet frigate in the port of Novorossiysk. The Admiral Mykhailo.
It's not us striking, it's them striking. Missiles missed the mark, drones hit the target. On the night of April 6th, SBS birds struck the frigate, the Admiral Grigorovich, in the port of Novorossiysk, and delivered a bit of blessed fire to the Sivash drilling platform.
Brovdi also noted that the traditional reliance on scale and gigantism no longer guarantees an advantage, drawing parallels with the extinction of the dinosaurs, which it didn't save. Instead, a new doctrine and a new type of warfare are taking shape. Ukraine is the first in this field.
Can you do it like this? Feel free to reach out. If you need anything, we'll show you how.
With that, we conclude our broadcast. We continue right now. Stay tuned for key events to be the first to know. Don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.